You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look me better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Naruto Meets Kim Possible? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of KFB Anime 87 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Cambodia. Naruto, Kim and Ron were making their way through the jungle trying to make it to the spot where Lord Monty Fisk asked them to meet him. Is there anyone you haven't helped since you started doing these missions? Naruto asked Kim as they made their way through the jungle. So we were dropped off by an army platoon, it's no big. Kim said as she put her hair in a ponytail. I swear you're way too humble, Kim, Naruto said, either a chuckle. Ugh, you flirting makes me sick, Kurama said as he faked gagging. Naruto rolled his eyes as he ignored the fox spirit's gagging sounds. I'm not flirting, he thought. So you don't check her out in her cheerleader outfit? When you're practicing that basketball thing after school? Kurama asked with a smirk as he did notice Naruto did precisely that when he was practicing basketball with the rest of the team. Naruto paused at this but composed himself as he blushed. It's not my fault, practice for the team and cheerleader squads are at the same time. I don't hear any denial, kid. Kurama said. Shut up, or I swear I will shave you, Naruto mentally growled. I'm not an actual pet you can threaten, so Naya. Kurama mocked. And you call me immature, Naruto thought as he rolled his eyes. There it is. Kim said as she pointed out a temple, a monkey temple, she asked as that detail was left out. Monkeys, seriously? Ron said. Oh no, Kim said with a sigh. Kim possible I presume, a man in some jungle gear asked as he and another man approached them. In the flesh. I am Lord Monty Fisk, and this is my valet Bates, the man said. This guy reeks like a monkey, Naruto thought. These are my friends Ron, and Naruto. Kim said, introducing her friends. Your friend there seems rather troubled. Bates said as he looked at Ron, who was shivering. Don't mind him, he's got a monkey phobia. Kim said. Monkeys and apes are pure evil. They pick up things with their feet, man. Ron yelled. Monty glared at Ron slightly, hearing this. So do you when it involves nacho stuff in your room, Naruto said with a chuckle. Monty led them towards the temple but Kim pulled Ron to the side. Will you calm down, you're not gonna get attacked by a monkey. Kim said. You don't know that, miss, I'm terrified of spiders. Ron said in a panic. My phobia's with snakes, scaly armless monsters of horror. Naruto said with a shiver. I thought it was mice. Ron said. Where? Naruto yelled as he looked around. Snakes and mice, wow. Kim said as she approached Monty and Bates. So what are we looking for? Kim asked. Legend speaks of a totem that grants one the pure primal power of the ape. Monty said. What about that info we got about something called Son Goku? Naruto asked. Oh, the legendary four-tailed ape said to have the power of a volcano? Monty said. I hate monkeys but that sounds so cool. Ron said. Sadly this temple only has some connections to him since the civilization that built it worshipped Son Goku. Monty said. Wait, is this an ape or the Dragon Ball guy? Ron asked before getting a whack to the head courtesy of Naruto. Kim groaned at this as she held her forehead. The Son Goku you are referring to is a children's tale based on the four-tailed ape. Monty said as he rolled his eyes. Certainly explains the chimps watching us, Naruto said as he saw some run off when he looked at them. Monkeys. Ron yelled as he took off into the jungle. Ron! Kim yelled. I'll get him, Kim. Naruto said with a roll of his eyes. Kim nodded before she followed Monty and Bates into the temple. Is your friend always so cowardly? Monty asked. He just scares easily. Kim said. With Ron. Ron whimpered as he kept running before he grunted, running into something. Huh? Ron said as he rubbed his head sitting up, and saw that he ran into a statue of monkey. Ron yelled as he pointed at a statue of a massive ape with 4 tails. You okay? Ron heard, and when he looked he saw a man sitting on the tip of the statue. He had red hair and a beard. No, I'm not okay, I'm surrounded by monkeys. Ron yelled in fear. The man chuckled at this before he jumped down to Ron. Technically Son Goku is a ape, apes don't have tails, yet he does, he said with a smile. Yeah, well, he's creepy. Ron said with a shudder. The man looked at Ron and shook his head at this. Well, you're not exactly what I was hoping for, but I suppose you will do, he said as he approached the statue and pulled on the arm. For what? Ron asked. The Son Goku statue mouth then opened, showing a red jewel. The tailed beasts need hosts for what's coming, kid, and I can tell you have potential, the man said. Tailed beasts? Ron asked curiously. My name is Rashi. A long time ago I was Son Goku's host, but that's another story, the man said as he disappeared. I'm talking to a ghost. Ron yelled in fear before the red gem glowed and fired a blast at Ron which hit him. Ah! Ron yelled. With Naruto. Naruto was still jumping tree to tree trying to find Ron. DMN, he can run fast. Naruto said as he landed on the ground to look for a trail. Least he's easy to follow, just follow the screams. Kurama said with a snicker. Naruto then heard Ron's screams as he saw a red flash nearby. Naruto instantly ran towards the light and soon found Ron on the ground unconscious in front of the Son Goku statue, only now the gem in its mouth looked hollow and lifeless. Oh geez. Naruto thought as he instantly put together what happened. Ha! That ape's host is a coward. Ahahahaha. Kurama laughed as to him this was just as good as Shikaku in Rufus. Wait, if this is the real Son Goku gem, then why isn't it in the temple Kim is in right now? Naruto muttered to himself. That ape must have had his gem hidden outside the temple so he wouldn't be as easy to find by the unworthy. Kurama said. Ron is worthy? Naruto asked with a chuckle as he lifted Ron onto his shoulder. Ron groaned before yelping as he fidgeted, kicking Naruto in the head as he got dropped. Remind me never to scare/wake you. Naruto said as he rubbed his cheek. What happened? Ron asked. I found you passed out. Naruto said simply. Oh yeah. Some ghost made that gem zap me. Ron yelled. You mean, this gem? Naruto said, twirling said gem on his finger like a basketball. Didn't look that dull when it zapped me. Ron said. You could say that's because what was contained, is now in you. Naruto said. Rufus poked his head out of Ron's pocket, like me, he asked as he made some sand for emphasis. I'll explain later, Ron, but for now we should meet back up with Kim. Naruto said. Ron nodded as he followed Naruto back towards the monkey temple. Later at night. Naruto and the others were sitting around a campfire while Monty and Bates were in their tent sleeping. Okay, so you found a gem and got zapped by it like Rufus? Kim asked. Yep, Ron said. So what are you gonna have powers like Rufus? It may take him a bit to get that sense he's human, and it takes a bit for tailed beasts to adjust. Naruto said. Out of all the beasts I had to get the stupid monkey, Ron said as he crossed his arms. Wait. A minute, Naruto, how do you know about the tailed beasts? Kim asked. Naruto paused at this before he sighed, looking he would have to tell them. Because when I was 6 years old I found one of the tailed beasts' temples in Japan, he said. You did? Which one? Kim asked. The nine-tailed fox, and let me tell you, it has been no picnic, Naruto said. Love you too, brat, Kurama said, sarcasm lacing his words. That moron chose a kid? Ha, a booming voice in Ron's head yelled before he started laughing. Who's there? Ron yelled as he looked around wildly looking for who spoke. He's hearing Sun talking now. Naruto said to Kim, who looked confused. A monkey's talking to me? Ron yelled in terror. Inside your head, Naruto added. And it's pretty roomy here. Son Goku said. Is there any way to remove the tailed beasts? Kim asked. Naruto shook his head at this, no. While Rufus listened to this, he spotted a cloaked figure. The ninja-looking figure approached the monkey idol Kim had gotten from the temple and grabbed it. But he was then grabbed by a burst of sand coming from the ground. Hey! Kim yelled as she approached to take the idol. The ninja struggled to get loose and was able to free himself since the sand wasn't that well ground up. Kim and Naruto attacked the ninja, but he flipped over them, and after a few exchanging of blows with Kim and Naruto with his hands and feet, he threw down a smoke bomb and jumped up and made his escape with the idol. That guy was good, Kim said as they coughed and tried to look around for the ninja. I think he's gone, Naruto said. What was so special about that idol that made that guy want it so bad? Kim asked. Bah, that idol was some way to get some bad knockoff of my power, Son Goku said in Ron's mind. Great, more monkey power. Ron groaned. Oh, grow a spine, brat. Son Goku said, shaking his head. Should we go after him? Kim asked. What happened? Monty asked as he came out of his temple. Some ninja got off with the idol, Kim said. It must have been some rival of mine, Monty said with a frown. Well, whoever it was, knew how to fight, Naruto said. Oh dear, in the wrong hands that totem could cause mayhem, Monty said as he rubbed his head. I'm sorry, Mr. Fisk, Kim said as she frowned as she didn't like losing. It's okay, I'm sure you did the best you could, for now let's all sleep and tomorrow you can head home, he said. I hate losing, Naruto growled as he got out his sleeping bag. You and Kim have that in common, Ron said with a chuckle as he got out his own sleeping bag. Shut up, and go to sleep, monkey boy, Naruto said. Gah. But it's true, Ron yelled before he was hit in the face with a pillow courtesy of Kim. Naruto rolled his eyes as he chuckled as he laid down to sleep. The next day at Bueno Nacho, Naruto parked his car in the parking lot to meet up with Kim and Ron. So you're gonna tell your parents about the rat and the coward being like us? Kurama asked. Is it really my place to tell them? Naruto thought back as he got out of his car. They know more about us than you, plus you know they won't tell anyone else. I guess I'll tell them about it tonight, Naruto thought as he walked into the restaurant. Hey Naruto, Kim said, waving at him from a table along with Ron and Rufus. Hey Kim, hey monkey boy, Naruto said with a grin. Gah, stop reminding me, Ron said. Okay, Oklahoma. So did Wade find anything about that idol that was stolen? Naruto asked. Apparently it and 3 others could grant the user mystic monkey power, Kim said. Mystic monkey power? Sounds like a knockoff of Sun's power, Naruto said. Hey, that's what he said last night, Ron said. You and him getting along? Kim asked curiously. Not really, guy has been yelling at me, calling me a coward. Did you stop screaming when you saw him in your mind? Naruto asked with a flat look. Ron said nothing before he took a bite of his burrito. Ha! Naruto said with a smirk, what about you? Hey look, there's a rat, Ron said, making Naruto jump on top of the table. Why don't you fear Rufus if you're scared of rats? Kim asked. Yeah, Rufus asked, poking his head out of an order of nachos on the table. Why would I? He's cute, Naruto said simply. Hey, be glad he's not a snake. Ron said. My second least favorite animal. Naruto said. Anyway, the only guy that knows about monkey kung fu is Lord Monty Fisk according to Wade. Kim said. Oh good, we can ask him what he knows and maybe get a lead on the mystery thief. Naruto said as he sat back down. Yeah, but we need to wait for that, I have family dinner with my cousins. Kim said with a groan. Oh yeah, Larry, right? Naruto asked with a shake of his head at Kim. Yep, good ol' Larry. Kim said with a sigh. I'm sure it will be okay. Kim remember he's Naruto started to say before he was interrupted. Family, I know Dad says the same thing. Kim said with a sigh. Hey, if you're talking like her dad, will she be calling you daddy when you start dating? Kurama asked with a smirk. Naruto choked on his food as he started to choke. I got you, buddy. Ron yelled as he grabbed Naruto from behind and started to squeeze hard, and eventually Naruto coughed up his food. Thanks, ahem. Anyways, what's your cousin Larry doing that's got you so annoyed? Naruto asked. I already told you he's a nerd. Kim said with a sigh. Sorry, it's just that my foxy indoor resident is worse than my mom. Naruto said. Ah, so by comparison a nerdy relative is nothing, Kim said with a nod of understanding. Hey, have you told your parents about Naruto? Ron asked Kim. Ron, his family and mine had dinner together, but anyway, why? Kim asked. Well, maybe he'd like to meet Larry, Naruto's smart, maybe he could translate his nerd talk. Ron said. Family outing Ron, so no friends unfortunately. Kim said with a sigh. Naruto saw this and gave her an encouraging smile. Hey, you can do anything right? He asked. Kim smiled back at this and nodded as they continued to eat. Hey, it could be worse, your moms could be pushing you to date each other. Ron said, making them cough on their food. They are, Naruto and Kim said flatly. Ouch. Rufus said as Ron chuckled sheepishly. Back at Naruto's house. Naruto walked into his house and set his car keys on the hook and saw his mom and dad in the living room. Hey, how was your day? Naruto asked. Oh, it was great, son, Minato said with a smile as he muted the TV. Yeah, until I got a call from your friend Ron asking me some intriguing questions. Kushina said with a slight edge. Oh, like what? Naruto said with a nervous smile. Like how to make the four-tailed ape in his head shut up. Minato said with a slight look at Naruto. DMN it, Ron. Naruto grumbled as he was gonna tell them later. So one of your friends is now the holder of the four tails? Minato asked with a concerned tone. Him, and his pet. Naruto said. The naked mole rat? Kushina asked with a raised eyebrow. Yep. Naruto said simply with a nod. Which one? Minato asked curiously. Shikaku. Naruto said. Ha. The sand rat has a holder that suits him. Kushina said before she started to laugh. Why couldn't I be in that one? Kurama said as he also laughed. So anything else interesting happened that we should know about? Minato asked. No, that's it. Naruto said while shaking his head. When are you going to grow a pair and ask him out? Kushina asked. Before Naruto could respond, his phone rang. Hello? He asked into his phone as he didn't recognize the number. Hey Naruto, Ron and Kim are going to see Monty Fisk. Your ride will be there in 5 minutes. Wade said. How did you get my phone number? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Later, Naruto. Wade said with a chuckle as he hung up. Naruto rolled his eyes at this as he put his phone away. Gotta go have a mission, he said. This isn't over, mister. Me and N are already planning your wedding. Kushina yelled as Naruto went upstairs to get ready for his mission. If you want kids to spoil, why not make another, for crying out loud? Naruto said as he went in his room. Good point, you. Follow me. Kushina yelled as she grabbed Minato and dragged him upstairs. Well played. Minato said as Kushina threw him into their bedroom. Monty Fisk's castle. Of course the dude owns a castle, can't rich people just own regular houses? Naruto said. Like you wouldn't buy something ridiculous if you could. Kim said. Hey, all I'd need is space and maybe a hot tub, everything else is just a waste. So you wanting to own a ramen restaurant isn't a fantasy of yours? Kim asked. Naruto looked at Kim with a surprised look, then he looked at Ron. I told you that in confidence. Ron chuckled nervously at this. Ron, I am not telling you a secret ever again. Naruto said as he knocked on the door. Hey crazy monkey dude, open up. Ron yelled. Ah, Kim Possible and her monkey-phobic friend and her cat friend. Ouch, Naruto said with a flat tone as he had heard that about his whisker marks a lot growing up. You're obviously here because you figured out my plan. Monty said as he led them into his house. And what plan would that be? Money bags? Naruto asked as he, Kim, and Ron followed the obviously mad man down some stairs. They soon entered a room that had 4 small pillars that held the jade monkeys. Kim said, surprised to see all 4 jade monkeys that Wade showed her. And with these jade monkeys the mystical monkey power is mine. I am no longer Monty Fisk, he said as the 4 jade monkeys glowed, and fired at Monty, lifting him up in the air. When the light faded, Monty fell to the ground in a fighting stance. I am Monkey Fist, he yelled. He has monkey hands. Ron yelled in terror. Indeed, you cowardly fool. I used my family fortune to alter my body so I can be ready for this moment. Monkey Fist yelled as he took a battle stance. Great, another crazy villain like the Smurf. Naruto said with a sigh. Enough, you all won't live to tell anyone about the power I now hold, Monkey Fist yelled. Well, you don't know how long we will live in medical science today. Ron, he means he's gonna kill us. Kim said with a sigh. Oh, aw. Ron yelled in terror. Prepare yourself, Kim Possible. Monkey Fist yelled as he charged at Kim. But before he could strike her, Naruto was in front of him with an orange aura covering him and caught his fist in his hand. Let me go, you, ag. Monkey Fist yelled as Naruto clenched his fist and started to crush his hand. You attack my friends, and the gloves come off, ban a breath. Naruto said with a scowl before he kicked at Monkey Fist, hitting him in the chest, sending him flying, but before he could hit something he backflipped and landed on his feet. Ah, a worthy opponent. Monkey Fist said with a grin as took a battle stance. Kim, Ron, stay back. I can handle this. Naruto said as he took a battle stance. No complaints from me, go get him, buddy. Go all fox on him. Ron said. Yeah, get him. Rufus cheered from Ron's pocket. Kim said nothing but looked like she wanted to do something. Naruto and Monkey Fist charged at each other, with Naruto rolling under Monkey Fist, delivering a punch to the chest. Monkey Fist lunged at Naruto, sweeping under his leg, the blonde jumping back to avoid it. Monkey Fist jumped back to his feet, throwing several kicks at Naruto, who blocked each incoming attack with his arms. Monkey Fist growled as he got to his hands, clenching his bottom legs into fist before proceeding to launch a barrage of speedway punches towards Naruto. He held up his arms in an X to block the incoming attacks, which came at a rapid heavy strike. Naruto grit his teeth as each punch came one after the other. Monkey Fist smirked, jumping above Naruto, raining attacks from both his sets of monkey lips upon Naruto. DMN, his attacks are stronger than an average human. Naruto thought. Monkey Fist landed beside Naruto, rearing back his leg, kicking into Naruto's side, pushing him back, knocking him into a wall. Monkey Fist laughed, clapping his hand as he performed several flips like a happy monkey. Just as he was celebrating his victory, he felt something around his left wrist and turned to see Naruto with his metal claw attached to a rope extending from his sleeve, narrowing his eyes. I always wanted to say this, get over here. Naruto shouted, yanking the Tai Shing Petquar MSTR towards him, kicking him across the face as he came to him, disorientating him enough for Naruto to drive his elbow into his face, knocking out 3 of his teeth. Ron cheered at this along with Rufus, who made an explosion of sand in the shape of going off fireworks. Ah. Naruto said as he rolled his mouth before spitting in his hand. Freak knocked my tooth out, now I'm happy I knocked yours out, but, he said to the downed monkey man. You're lucky I can grow those suckers back. Kurama said. Rufus ran to the knocked out monkey fist and got in his face. You got knocked the fuck dash. Who taught you that? Kim asked with a disapproving look at the naked mole rat. Rufus chuckled sheepishly at this while looking the other way. Let's call the authorities and get him locked up. Naruto said as he tied up the unconscious monkey fist. Or a zoo. Kim said with a smile. Naruto chuckled at this. Pretty funny for a hologram, he said with a knowing look at Kim. Kim paused at this before she sighed. What gave me away? She asked. When I'm using Kurama's power I can sense everything around me and you don't have an aura. Naruto said. Huh? Ron asked, not getting what Naruto means. I'll explain it later, Nacho Brain. Naruto said as he took out his phone and hit speed dial. Wade, call the authorities, we have a new villain to lock up, he said. What should we do with the monkey power things? Ron asked, pointing at the totems. I say break 'em. Kim said. Rufus nodded before he made a bunch of sand which engulfed the totems and with a hand clench from Rufus crushed them. Welp, have fun with you family, Kimmy Cub, Naruto said teasingly as they headed out of the castle. Who told you, I'm gonna kill those dweebs? Kim yelled, realizing they told Naruto her mom's old name for her. Naruto laughed at this as Kim's hologram disappeared. They never told you, did they? Ron asked curiously. No, it was her mom, Naruto said with a grin. That's cold. Ron said with a chuckle as they left the mansion. A few days later. Naruto, Kim and Ron were at Bueno Nacho. Need an extracurricular activity, huh? Naruto said as Ron just told them what Barkin said. Yeah, if I don't I won't be able to get into a good college, Ron said making air quotes. Why not try karate? My mom makes a good teacher, Naruto said as he ate some nachos. I'd rather get trained by Monkey Fist, Ron said. Okay, ouch, that one actually hurt me. Naruto said with a small chuckle. Sorry, it's just when your mom looks at me it's like she's burning a hole through my soul. Ugh, she's just scary, Ron said. Yeah, scary. Rufus said with a shiver as he ate a burrito. What you need is an extracurricular that plays to your strengths. Kim said. Like what? Eating. Naruto said with a chuckle before she elbowed him. We all have something that fits us. You have basketball and I have the cheer squad. Kim said. Technically according to my dad any sport fits me but okay. Naruto said with a shrug. That's it. Ron said with a smile. You're gonna try for sports. No offense Ron but you kinda lack in the muscle department. No, I'm gonna try for the cheer squad. Ron said with a grin. Don't you have to be a girl to do that? Naruto asked. No, apparently they do have guy cheerleaders but they're called yell leaders, Kim said with a groan as Ron ran off and out of the restaurant. I am not looking at that, in a skirt, Naruto said pointing at Ron's direction. Kim snorted at this and laughed at the face Naruto made. Think you can help me deal with this when he shows up to cheer practice tomorrow? Naruto nodded at this. Yeah, I'll help you crush his dreams, he said with a chuckle. The next day after school. Naruto, in his basketball outfit, dribbled the ball getting some practice in. Where is he? He asked Kim, who was wearing her cheer outfit. I don't know, he said he had a surprise. Kim said. Naruto sighed as he glanced at the cheer squad. They're staring at me, aren't they? He asked her. All but Tara, honestly, Kim said as she shook her head. Take a picture, it'll last longer. He told the cheer squad. The cheer squad took out their phones at this. Sometimes I hate women. Naruto groaned as he should have seen that coming. Open up the doors, the mad dog is loose, a voice yelled as someone with a dog's head ran in barking. Oh no! Naruto said as he realized who this was. Ron? Kim asked with a bewildered look. Sup Kim, I'm the new mascot. Ron said. We don't have a mascot, Bonnie said with a scowl. Well, we do now. Ron said before he began to act silly like mascots do at games. Not a bad idea, but you need a gimmick. Naruto said with a chuckle. Ron shook his head and his dog head started to foam at the mouth, sending the foam flying. What is this? Bonnie asked. And it better come out. Naruto said as it got all over his jersey. It's banana cream, don't worry, unless you're allergic to bananas. You aren't allergic to bananas, are you? Ron asked. Naruto grumbles as he takes off his shirt, making Kim blush. If this ruins my jersey, you're toast, he said as he headed towards the locker room. Nice abs, some of the cheerleaders yelled. Oh, can it, go drool at some magazine guy, you bunch of hyenas. Naruto said. I could do my laundry on those abs. Bonnie said. I heard that bonbon. Naruto said. Who told you that name? Bonnie yelled as she hated that nickname. Ron started to whistle innocently, trying to avoid getting found out. The next day. Naruto was walking towards his locker but stopped when he noticed Kim and Ron nearby talking. That's your opinion? Ron yelled, clearly upset. It's the whole cheerleading squad's opinion. Kim said, sounding frustrated. Maybe you and the cheer squad just don't get it. Ron said as he held up his mad dog head. You don't get it. Kim said as she rolled her eyes. Oh, I'm Kim Possible, I can do anything except believe in my best friend. Ron said as he put on a mask that made him look like Kim. Okay, what's going on here? Naruto asked, trying to find out why Kim and Ron are arguing. Kim and the cheer squad think my mad dog routine is stupid. Ron said as he took off his Kim mask. Okay, look, let's just calm down, and talk this out. Because this isn't something to fight over. Naruto said as he held up his hands in a peaceful manner. Before Kim could respond, her communicator went off. What's the sitch, Wade? She asked, answering it. I have a weird one. Wade said. Tell me about it. Kim said with a look at Ron. I have a request from Professor Ramesh from the Middleton Observatory. Wade said. That name sounds familiar, I think my dad knows him. Kim said. Ramesh's partner Professor Chen is missing. Wade said. Okay, Wade, set up a ride, me and Naruto will bring the man of 1,000 faces. Kim said as she looked at Ron, who was clearly still upset. No thanks, I'll fly solo. Well, I won't be flying. But I'll get there somehow. Ron said as he walked off. Kim sighed at this. Good going, Possible. She said to herself out loud. Yeah, that could have gone better. Naruto said. Let's go, we have a mission. Kim said as she led Naruto out of the school. Helicopter. Naruto and Kim were on a helicopter heading for the Middleton Observatory. Naruto, what's your opinion on Ron's routine? Kim asked, hoping to get some fresh perspective. Honestly, Kim? Naruto asked, wanting to be sure Kim wanted the truth of what he thought. Of course, Naruto, you're my friend. If I wanted a yes man, I would sit at the elite table with Bonnie. Kim said. Honestly, I think you were too harsh with Ron. Naruto said with a small frown. Do you think so? Kim asked, surprised but willing to hear Naruto out. I can see why you and the squad would think it's a stupid idea. But here's the thing, mascots are supposed to look stupid, they make people laugh. Naruto said. Kim paused at this and thought of the game she had seen on TV with her dad growing up and reminded the teams that had mascots all acted stupid to make the crowd laugh. She then sighed at this, now understanding what she did. I'm an idiot, aren't I? She asked. Naruto paused at this but chuckled and held up his fingers so they were barely touching. Maybe just a little, he said. Kim chuckled at this as they started to land. Okay, Miss Possible, you and your boyfriend be careful. I heard your missions can get messy. The pilot said as he opened the doors to his helicopter. Kim blushed a little at hearing the pilot calling Naruto her boyfriend. Before she shook her head to regain her composure. Me and Naruto are not a couple, but thanks for the ride. She said. Yeah, I'm not that lucky. Naruto said with a smile as he waved at the pilot as he left the helicopter with Kim. Not that lucky? Kim asked with a raised eyebrow. What? It's the truth, any guy would be lucky. Naruto said. Kim smiled, finding this sweet of Naruto before she took out her communicator. Ron, you there? She asked. Can't hear you, bad reception. Ron answered over the communicator, only he was making fake static sounds between each word. Ron, will you grow up, and stop being a br dash dot? Kim was saying before Naruto snatched the communicator from her. Ron, she is gonna let you try your mad dog routine at a game, so grow up and get up here. Naruto said into the communicator. Booyah! The mad dog lives. Ron yelled over the communicator before he started barking. Naruto chuckled at this as he handed the communicator back to Kim. Before Kim could respond, they heard a crash coming from the observatory. Both Kim and Naruto instantly ran over and found a massive hole in the wall. And when they entered it, they saw what looked like 3 robot women with blonde hair approaching an Indian man in a lab coat. Professor Ramesh! Kim shouted as she glared at the robots. Kim Possible and Naruto Uzumaki, threat level, minimal, one of the robots said. Ouch! Naruto said as he and Kim charged at the robots. Before they jumped at the robots, but the robots instantly moved and pushed them towards the giant telescope nearby. But they were able to jump off it, and look at the robots. Not bad. Kim said as she got in a battle stance. BB is perfect. One of the robots said as the 3 of them aimed their arms out at them and started to vibrate before they fired their arms at the 2 heroes like rocket whips. Naruto and Kim instantly moved out of the way. Naruto runs towards a robot while pulling out his collapsible bow staff and swinging it at a BB's head. Meanwhile, Kim grabbed a chair with wheels and kicked off on it towards Professor Ramesh, which caused her and the professor to go flying near the exit. The BBs looked at Kim and started to vibrate before they took off after Kim and the professor, ignoring Naruto. Looks like they have a one-track mind. Naruto said as he rested his bow staff on his shoulders. The BBs blocked Kim and the professor's way out while walking like carbs. Oh geez, a crab walk, if they start cursing and spitting ecto cooler, I'm out. Naruto said with a smile as he ran over to back Kim up. The BBs ignored this and started to extend their heads and arms from their bodies ready to attack. What are they? Kim asked, as even for robots this was a little much. Kim, I'm here. Ron yelled as he walked in, panting for breath. One of the robots looked at Ron and said nothing as its eyes glowed. Ron saw this and chuckled nervously before he fainted. Ron! Kim yelled before the BBs used their speed to grab Professor Ramesh and run off. Rufus made some sand to try and grab them, but the BBs easily avoided the sand. DMN, those things are fast. Naruto said. That's what happens when you hold back, you idiot. Kurama yelled at Naruto in his mindscape. Like I would know that these robots would be that tough. Naruto thought back. Sorry guys, it's my fault they got away. Ron said as Kim helped him up. You could have helped if you weren't a coward. Son Goku yelled at Ron from his mindscape. Quiet, evil monkey. Ron thought. I'm an ape, you nacho-eating fool. Son Goku bellowed in rage. Okay, let's get out of here. I'm sure Wade can find them. Kim said as she led Ron out of the observatory. Naruto was following, but he stepped on something. Huh, what's this? Naruto said as he reached down to pick up a framed picture he stepped on. Naruto looked at the picture and saw it was 3 young teens slightly older than him. Must be Professor Ramesh and Chun back in college. Naruto mused as he noticed something. Wait, is that Kim's dad? He asked himself before smiling. Must have been buddies with them back in college. Hey Brad, if the first 2 were kidnapped then maybe your girlfriend's dad is the next target. Kurama said. Naruto froze at this before he scowled. Not happening on my watch. He said as he left the observatory, and she's not my girlfriend. He thought to the fox who just cackled at him in his mindscape. Later that night at Kim's house. Naruto was outside Kim's house dressed as Kim's dad, complete with a mask. Thank you Ron, Naruto thought as he walked towards James' car, glad Ron had talent with making masks. If this doesn't work this man may have some brains after all. Kurama said. Naruto got into James' car and before he could close the door something punched its way through the car roof. Naruto looked up and saw the BBs. Dr. Possible the doctor will see you now, the BBs said together as they grabbed Naruto. Too easy Naruto thought as the robots carried him off. Not exactly how you hoped women would drag you off, huh? Kurama thought with a smirk. Oh shut up Naruto thought with a roll of his eyes. With Kim. Kim was at cheer practice at the school gymnasium with the other cheerleaders while Ron was practicing his mad dog routine nearby. Can't believe you are letting that loser try his stupid routine at a game, Bonnie said as she scowled at Ron. Bonnie, lots of teams have mascots so just give it a chance, Tara said with a sigh at her friend's attitude. That's exactly what Naruto said to convince me to give Ron a chance, Kim said with a smile. Bonnie took note of the smile on Kim's smile and her eyes widened. Oh my god, you like him don't you? She asked. No, I don't. Kim said. Well then maybe I should try getting with him, Bonnie said with a smirk. Kim's eyes widened at this before she lightly glared at Bonnie. I don't think so, remember Naruto said he's not into shallow girls, she said. Well that's a easy fix, Bonnie said with a dismissive wave of her hand. Kim growled at her before she paused. Wait a minute, you're actually wanting to change? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Have you seen him? He's definitely worth trying to be less shallow, Bonnie said with a smile. Yeah, good luck, Kim said with a roll of her eyes. Bonnie glared at Kim at this game on B, she thought, as she knew Kim liked Naruto and wouldn't lose to her. Kim, where is Naruto? He said he was gonna teach me some moves for my mascot routine, Ron asked. Suddenly the gym doors burst open showing James with a user look on his face. Kimberly and Possible, he yelled out. Oh. Ron muttered as Kim's dad never used Kim's full name unless she was in trouble. Daddy, why are you here? Kim asked, a little nervous. Where is Naruto and what did he do with my car? I get ready to go to work and find it with a new sunroof. Naruto? Why would he want the car? Kim asked. He said something about a mission and that he needed to borrow one of my work outfits, James said. Ron paused at this. Oh geez, Naruto asked me to make a mask of your dad KP, he said. Naruto made himself bait. Kim said, putting on a serious face. Yo Kim, your phone, Bonnie said, tossing it to her as it rung, which she answered. Alright Draken, if you took me so you can kill me with these other scientists, just do me a favor, shut up and get on with it. I didn't even want to take you, you whiskers fool. I wanted James. Possible, Draken could be heard yelling over the phone. Draken, Ron said with a frown. Kim took out her communicator and called Wade. What's up Kim? Wade asked curiously. Naruto is captured by Draken and we need a location, Kim said. Wade nodded at this. I microchipped his phone just in case of an emergency, he said as he typed away his computer for a moment. He's at the Middleton Motor Lodge, he said. Thanks Wade, Kim said as she turned to her father. I need a ride Dad, she said with a determined look. James nodded at this as him and Kim left. Wait for me. Ron yelled as he ran after them. Kim hung up her phone, cutting Naruto's conversation with Draken off as she headed for the locker room to change into her mission outfit. With Naruto. Got to admit I didn't think you'd find out it was a mask. Naruto said from inside his electric cell next to Dr. Ramesh and Chen. How much of a idiot do you think I am? Hello evil genius, Draken said as he gestured to himself. Evil yes, genius, Naruto said as he waved his hand. Says the one stupid enough to think he could pretend to be James Possible, when I know how James acts. Draken said. So you know Kim's dad? Naruto asked curiously. Yes, we were college mates until him and those two chose to ridicule me. Wait, Kim Possible and James Possible are related? Draken asked in realization. And there's the stupidness showing, Naruto muttered. Drew Lipsky. Dr. Chen asked. That is not my name anymore, it's Draken. Wait, if this guy was normal how'd he go all blue? Naruto asked. I don't have to answer that, Draken said with a scoff. Bah, whatever, where's Shago? She's the only reason dealing with you is somewhat tolerable, Naruto said. Ga teenagers and your herm-infested bodies, Draken said. Okay, first of all I meant she's good for a fight and two she bailed because your robot women was too stupid even for her, huh? Naruto asked with a smirk. How is it stupid to create robots that learn as they operate? They can even take Kim Possible and you in a fight, Draken said. And they are modeled after women because... Naruto asked flatly. Oh, shut up. Draken yelled. Old Drew never was good with women back in school, but this is... sad, Dr. Ramesh said with a shake of his head. Couldn't build a decent robot either, Dr. Chen said. Gur, that's it, BBs destroy them. Draken yelled out. The BBs glared at Naruto and the two doctors as they marched towards them. Oh good, I wanted a rematch, Naruto said as he channeled some of Kurama's power, making an orange aura around himself. What is this? Draken asked, surprised as he hadn't seen Naruto do this before. Yeah. Naruto yelled as he smashed through the container him and the two DRs were in. It doesn't matter, my creations have a hive mind, the more you fight them the faster they learn to crush you. Draken yelled. Then I'll do this quickly. Naruto yelled as he charged at the BBs. A red blur zipped throughout the building as three more yellow blur trailed behind it. Naruto ducked one of the BB's punches before grabbing hold of it and throwing it into the other, sending it crashing through a wall with the third one chasing after him. Naruto's red eyes flared as he clawed at the wind, creating a powerful whirlwind pushing it back. What is going on? Draken yelled in shock as he hid behind a table along with Ramesh and Chen. The other BBs jumped in after Naruto, unleashing a barrage of speedy punches which the young ninja had a slightly hard time avoiding the strikes but kept his focus. Naruto extended his claws, striking a BB across the chest, leaving a gash mark. He dropped kicked an incoming BB, smashing it downwards into the ground, creating an imprint of the android. The third BB came down at Naruto. Its red eyes glowed as it punched the boy in the chest, making his gasps in pain, but gripped her hand as he summoned Aura Tails, smashing it away into the wall. Man, these hunks of tin don't quit. Naruto said as the BBs got back on their feet before rushing at Naruto once more as he dodged and avoided their attacks. Hiya! Naruto began to take in the demonic power within him as Kurama's aura surged through him. Hrayamah! Naruto shouted as tore through one BB's chest, causing it to short-circuit before kicking off the head of the next one. He spun around as he threw the short-circuiting BB into the last remaining one, stunning it long enough for Naruto's kunai to pierce through its head. Naruto turned his back as the doors into the room opened, showing Kim, Ron and James arriving. We're here to save you, buddy. Ron yelled as he ran into the room. Yeah. Rufus yelled from Ron's pocket. I think we are late, Ron, Kim said as she gestured to the destroyed BBs. Whoa, Ron said with wide eyes at what Naruto did. You can do it too if you trained. Son Goku yelled in a rage. Where is Draken? Kim asked as she and James ran over to Ramesh and Chen. He made his escape during the fight, Chen said as he gestured to the back door. We will get another chance, Kim said with a sigh, as this was expected since Draken was one to flee if things started to go bad for him. Man, after that fight I need some food. Who's up for bueno nacho? Naruto asked his friends with a smile. You kids go on but don't stay out too late, James said with a smile at his daughter. Kim nodded as she followed her friends out of the lodge. Later. Naruto, Kim and Ron were hanging out at Bueno Nacho after the fight. Dressing up as my dad, how stupid can you get? Kim asked with a frown at Naruto. Well, apparently only James Possible can act as James Possible. Naruto said. Wipe that smile off your face, Kim said with a light glare. Oh geez, KP is mad, Ron said with a shiver as this didn't happen often. Yup, Rufus said as he ate his burrito. What makes me even more upset is the fact you went after Draken without me, Kim said with a glare at Naruto. It's Draken only when Shago is around is he a threat. Naruto said. That's not the point, Naruto, we do these missions together, Kim said. Yeah, there's no I in team. Ron said, taking Kim's side. I beat the robots on my own though, ow. Naruto yelled since Kim poked him hard in the forehead. You may have that fox power but it's not invincible, it can't beat everything that comes at you. Kim said as she glared at Naruto. I call bullshit. Kurama said. Hush you, Naruto thought as he rubbed his head. Okay, I won't do this again, he said. Good boy. Kim said with a smile. Did she just? Naruto said with a flat look. Yeah, she did. Ron said. Rufus said. Ha. The great Kurama's host is the pet of some redhead. Shikaku yelled from Rufus's mindscape. Now let's get something straight here, you don't refer to me like I'm your pet. Naruto said, giving Kim a look. Oh, lighten up, Whiskers. Kim said with a wave of her hand. And don't call me Whiskers either. Naruto said with an annoyed look. Dude, the entire cheer squad calls you that, Ron said as he ate his burrito. Doesn't mean I like it. Naruto grumbled. Would you prefer they call you Foxy Man? Kim said with a raised eyebrow. Whiskers is fine. Kimmy Bear. Naruto said with a teasing grin. CRP, I forgot all about you calling me that in front of them. Kim said with a groan. Naruto and Ron laughed at this for a bit before Kim started to laugh with them before they started to eat. Draken's lair. Draken was in his lair explaining what happened to Shago. So that Uzumaki has powers too? Shago asked with a glare as she ignited her hand, clearly mad that Naruto had better abilities than her. Indeed, he seemed to have something more powerful than you, Draken said with a thoughtful look. I won't lose to him again. Shago yelled in a rage. Would you like to make sure of that? A voice said as what looked like a swirling portal appeared and a man with an orange swirl mask and a black cloak with red clouds appeared in the room. Who are you? Draken asked with a glare at having an intruder in his lair. I am a man that is interested in seeing Mr. Uzumaki and his friends be defeated, so I would like to offer Miss Go something to help her beat Mr. Uzumaki, the man said. Shago quirked an eyebrow at this. And what exactly are you offering? She asked. The man waved his hand and made a small swirling portal appear and made a blue gem appear in front of Shago. Shago looked at the gem and saw that the gem seemed to have a blue flame inside it. She reached out to touch it and she barely touched it before it glowed and made a fiery blue aura appear around Shago and made her eyes slit like a cat's. Middleton High. Naruto was walking to his locker, but before he could get there, his path was blocked. Oh hey, Bonnie. Naruto said as he approached his locker. Hey, Naruto. I wanted to talk to you a bit before class started. Bonnie said. Well, I have a few minutes, so let's hear it. Though if this is an invite to the cool table. Naruto said with a sigh. No, I wanted to apologize for being shallow before, and I wanted to ask if we could try being friends. Bonnie asked. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this because he had to admit this was new even for him. She's either thirsty for you, or she hit her head. Kurama said with a cackle. Naruto ignored this and smiled at Bonnie. Okay, Bonnie. We can be friends, but I hope you realize this means you have to be nice to Kim and Ron. Bonnie hesitated before she nodded as she knew this would most likely come up with lunch later. She asked. Naruto nodded at this before Bonnie smiled and left to go to class. As Naruto walked down the hall, he spotted Kim next to the janitor's closet. "Oh, will you grow up, Ron?" Kim said to the closet. "You ruined my look, Kim." Ron yelled from inside the closet. "It's just a new haircut, Ron. Not me selling you out to a villain," Kim said as she rolled her eyes. Ron finally decided to come out of the janitor's closet, only to show he was wearing a bucket on his head. "Ha, nice look. Who knew the janitor look was in?" Naruto said with a chuckle at this. "If that's Naruto, tell him he's not funny," Ron said as he looked around before Naruto took the bucket off Ron's head. Only to show Ron was wearing a musher's hat. "Little overkill, Ron," Kim said with a shake of her head at her friend. "So I'm gonna guess you had him get a new look, and he's not exactly a fan?" Naruto asks Kim, and she nods. "She took away my core. My essential Ron-ness," Ron said with a panicked look. Kim and Naruto gave Ron a flat look thinking this was just him being overdramatic. "Oh, Ron. I'm so sorry I took your identity," Kim said with a slightly sarcastic tone. "Yeah, and there's only one thing to do," Naruto said with a determined nod. Kim snatches Ron's hat off as she shouts at the top of her lungs. "Ron Stoppable has a new haircut," Kim yelled before running off with Ron's hat with Ron right behind her. Naruto chuckled at this as he didn't expect Kim to have a little prankster in her. "Oh great, now you like her even more," Kurama said with a scoff. Later at lunch, Naruto walked into the cafeteria and spotted Kim at their regular table with Bonnie. What he didn't notice was that they were both glaring daggers at each other. "Hey, ladies," Naruto greeted as he sat down with his bagged lunch. "Hey Naruto," Bonnie greeted with a smile. "No ramen today?" Kim asked with a raised eyebrow at Naruto, taking out a sandwich for lunch. "Yeah, Mom has been on me about eating healthy," Naruto grumbled a little. "Your favorite food is ramen?" Bonnie asked curiously, as that was slightly odd. "Yup. Though, I like other foods too." "What about you, Bonnie?" Naruto asked with a smile at his new friend. "I mostly eat salads and don't really want to gain weight since I'm on the cheer squad," Bonnie said as she ate some of her salad. I would think that with how much work you put in with the cheer squad, you could mix it up a little with food choices," Naruto said as he took a bite of his sandwich. "So you think I look good?" Bonnie asked with a slight smirk. Naruto sputtered a little at that comment before he turned to Kim. "So, where's Ron? I haven't seen him all day," Naruto asked, hoping to change the subject. "No idea. I haven't seen him since this morning," Kim said as she ate her lunch. "Geez, his hair is not that bad," Naruto said as he rolled his eyes at Ron's attitude. "He got a new haircut, huh?" Bonnie asked with a raised eyebrow. "Yes, and he's most likely hiding somewhere trying to avoid being seen," Kim said with a sigh. As she somewhat knew how Ron thought. Since they have been friends for so long. Naruto rolled his eyes as he continued eating his lunch with his friends. "So you two getting along?" he asked the two girls. Kim and Bonnie glared at each other for a moment before they both looked at Naruto. "Yeah, we are getting along," they both said together. Naruto smiled at this, glad his friends weren't fighting. Kurama, who was watching this from inside Naruto's mindscape, rolled his eyes at his host's cluelessness. After school, Naruto and Kim walked out of school, and as they walked past a tree, they heard someone calling out to them, causing them to stop. "Ron, why are you hiding behind a tree?" Naruto asked with a flat tone as he spotted his friend. "I have a hair situation," Ron said as he pointed at the back of his hair, where there was a slight cowlick. "Yeah, and?" Naruto asked, not seeing the problem. Ron, it will flatten out when your hair gets longer. Kim said with a roll of her eyes. Yeah, or we could go to France. Find Francois, and get more legoop. Ron said with a smile. Kim gave Ron a bewildered look at this. Ron, are you suggesting that I call in a favor so you can go to France for hair gel? She asked. Ron said with a smile as he pointed at his hair. Later in France. Okay, this is ridiculous, and I deal with a yelling fox spirit. Naruto said as he rolled his eyes as he, Kim, and Ron walked out of a hair salon. Yeah, I'm starting to regret getting Ron this haircut. Kim said as she and Naruto watched Ron talk to Francois. While Kim and Naruto watched, some girls walked past Ron and giggled at him while he waved. This haircut is the best. Ron said with a smile. Oh, grow up. Hair doesn't make the man. Naruto said as he rolled his eyes. Yeah. Plus, that blonde on that cheerleader squad liked you before this haircut CRP. Son Goku yelled in Ron's head. Huh? Say what? Ron said, confused at what the ape spirit yelled at him. Gah. I'm possessing an idiot. Son Goku bellowed, making Ron grab his head from the volume of his yelling. I'm gonna guess Goku's calling you out on your ego? Kim asked with a flat look. Nah, he's calling me stupid and telling me lies about how a girl liked me before my new look. Ron said as he adjusted his hair. Oh, you mean Tara? Naruto asked before Kim and Ron looked at him. What? He asked. How do you know she likes Ron? Kim asked with a raised eyebrow as she figured Naruto was clueless about things like that. Bonnie told me. It kinda surprised me too. Naruto said with a shrug. Of course. Kim said with a sigh as she recalled Bonnie giving Naruto her number during lunch. Tara likes me? Ron asked, surprised. That's what Bonnie says. But I don't think this vain CRP is gonna win her over. Naruto said. How do I know Bonnie isn't lying? Ron asked curiously. Well, she said she's trying to change her attitude. Plus, she was nice to Kim during lunch when we ate together today. Naruto said. Whoa, say what? Ron said, surprised at hearing this information. Suddenly the lights all around them started to go out. Kim looked around at this before she pulled out her communicator. Hey Wade, she said when she saw his face. Hey, Kim. Tell Ron I'm hungry for lasagna and to stop in Italy for me. Wade said with a smile. Ha ha ha. Ron said with a flat tone. The power just went off over here. Can you look up to see what's going on? Kim asked Wade. Wade nodded before he started typing on his computer. Before his eyes widened. Whoa, there are rolling blackouts all over Europe. He said. Can you get us into the power grid, so we can track whatever is causing this? Naruto asked as he knew this was definitely not a regular blackout. And we'll need a ride. Kim said as she was thinking the same as Naruto. Sure, I can do that easily. I know a robotics firm that can help. Wade said with a smile. Later. Kim, Ron, and Naruto were sitting in a helicopter. That was flying them to their destination only. This cannot be safe. Ron said with a nervous tone of voice. As he, Naruto, Kim, and Rufus, who was sitting on Ron's lap, looked at the empty pilot seat where the control stick was moving on its own. Wade. I'm kind of with Ron on this one. Kim said as she looked at her communicator. Don't worry, guys. The pilotless drone chopper is awesome, and the military uses it for missions too risky for human beings. Wade said with a smile as he controlled the helicopter from his room. Oh, that gives me so much more confidence. Naruto said, sarcasm lacing his words. I've traced the energy drain. But my map says there's nothing there. Kim said as she looked at the map on her communicator. Rufus, who was looking outside the window, started to point and made a floating hand made of sand that was pointing so he could get their attention. Naruto, Kim, and Ron looked outside the window and saw an island down below with a bright light coming off of it. Nothing left its lights on. Ron said as he pointed at the island. Wade, take us down. Kim said, looking at her communicator. Gently. Ron said nervously as he still didn't like the idea of being flown remotely. On the island. The three teens stood in front of a massive wall that had blocked their way to the center of the island. Kim took out her grappling hook, but Naruto stopped her. What's up? She asked curiously. I've got an idea. Hey Rufus. Naruto said with a smile as the mole rat poked his head out of Ron's pocket. Think you can use your sand to carry us over the wall? Naruto asked. Rufus looked at the wall and made an unsure sound. I bet if you do it, Ron will buy you a burrito. Naruto said with a smile at his friend. Ron smiled back at this and nodded. Grande sized too. He said. Rufus smiled at this before a burst of sand appeared under the three teens' feet and started slowly lifting them up. Well, that's depressing. Kim said with a sigh. What's up, Kim? Naruto asked curiously. Well, I was getting worried that you guys with these tailed beast powers would make me feel useless. Naruto frowned at this before he shook his head. Kim, you're just as good if not better than us at a lot of things. He said as he placed his hand on her shoulder. Yeah, KP. Plus, I haven't done anything with my tailed beast since I got it. Ron said with a smile as he tried to cheer up his friend. That's not exactly something to brag about, Ron. Kim said as she gave Ron a flat look. Look, Kim. The point is that you're still the leader. We just help where we can think of the tailed beasts as tools we can use to make things easier for you. Even if one of us is too much of a chicken to use it. Naruto said with his own flat look at Ron. Ron nodded at this before he realized what Naruto had said. Hey. He said with a frown. It's the truth, and you know it. Son Goku yelled at Ron, clearly not amused with his host's cowardice. And a little annoyed that Naruto used the term tool. He's not a tool and never will be. Soon Rufus's sand reached the top of the wall, where they all got on top of the wall. Wow, that's a big light bulb. Kim said before he whistled, impressed at the size. No wonder Europe doesn't have any power. Ron said. Naruto looked at the bottom of the light bulb and spotted a teen using the light bulb to sunbathe. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. He said as he took out a kunai to throw at the light bulb. Kim grabbed Naruto's wrist, stopping him from throwing it. Let's try talking first. She said before she looked at Rufus. Rufus, take us down. She asked the mole rat. Rufus nodded before using his sand to make a slide that led down to the bottom. You're getting good at this, buddy. Ron said with a smile before sliding down the sand slide with Kim and Naruto close behind. The teen heard this and looked at them before taking off his sunglasses. Father, I see people. They must be the new servants. He yelled to the building nearby. The doors to the building opened and showed an older man in a red suit and holding a cane. He came out smiling at them. Very good, did you bring more light bulbs? He said as he approached. Kim and the others approached the man to greet him. I'm Kim Possible, and this is Ron Stoppable and Naruto Uzumaki. She said, pointing at herself before introducing her friends. The older man smiled as he introduced himself. Ah, welcome, to my home. We have only turned everything on. I am Senior Senior, and this is my son, Senior Senior Junior, he said, introducing themselves. Naruto lightly chuckled at this as he found their names funny. Junior looked at Naruto with interest. Why do you have tattoos? He asked, pointing at his face. They're birthmarks. Naruto said. Junior, don't be rude to our guests. I was about to go skiing on my private mountain. Would you like to join me? Senor asked the three teens. No, thank you, Senior. Kim said with a polite tone. Some refreshments, perhaps. I have some lovely juice that comes in a box. Senor said, trying to be polite. A juice box would be nice. Kim said. Follow me. I'm more than happy to have guests. Senor said with a smile as he led them inside. Later inside. Everyone was sitting at a table, and Kim had a map laid out so she could explain the situation to the rich man and his son. Oh dear, I had no idea I was inconveniencing all of Europe. Senor said with a frown as he looked at the map. It's quite all right. I'm sure we can find a solution to the problem. Kim said with a smile, glad Senor was actually one of the few reasonable rich people she had met. What can I do to help? Senor asked, hoping they could find a solution. Well, you could turn off the giant sun lamp. Kim said, jeering a thumb at the doorway which led outside. That or build a private power generator. Naruto said with a nod. But if I'm to be a teen pop star, I need a robust tan. Junior said. Later Junior, now Mr. Uzumaki, this private power generator would help. Senor asked Naruto curiously. Oh, sure. If you make one good enough, it should give you plenty of power for your house. So you don't inconvenience anyone. Naruto said. House. More like a lair. Ron said as he finished his juice box. Lair. I don't like the sound of that, it's too sinister. Senor said with a frown. Ignore him. He reads too many comic books and watches movies. Naruto said with a frown at Ron. This place screams Seni's dash, Ron was saying. Before he could finish, Naruto placed his hand over Ron's mouth. Will you zip it? This guy is actually reasonable, so don't be rude. Naruto said. Ron wanted to say something else, but Rufus used some sand to cover his mouth. Well, Miss Possible, I'll definitely use some more power-efficient methods. And I will also be getting a private power generator like Mr. Uzumaki suggested. Senor said with a smile and a nod at Kim and Naruto. I'm glad we could settle this peacefully. Kim said with a smile at the older man. As am I. I just wish I could do more to make up for the trouble I caused. Senor said with a frown. Well, there are several charities you could donate to. That's a good way to show you're sorry. Naruto said, trying to help. Ah, helping people is a good cause? Senor asked Naruto curiously. Oh sure, me, Kim and Ron do that all the time. Naruto said with a smile at the old man. Senor looked at them in surprise. Fascinating that such young teens are helping people just as a hobby. He mused to himself. Well, we have to go, it's a long way home, and we have homework. Kim said with a smile as she grabbed Ron, who was still trying to get Rufus's sand off his mouth. Oh, of course. Please drive safely, my young teens, and don't worry. I'll make sure to do what I can to make up for the inconvenience. Senor said as he waved goodbye at the three teens. With Naruto later in Middleton. That went better than I expected it to go. Naruto said with a smile as he parked his car in front of Ron's house to drop him off. Speak for yourself. I still taste sand. Ron yelled as he stuck out his tongue. Yeah, well. Don't be rude to people then. Naruto said as Ron got out of his car. Ron said nothing as he was still inspecting his tongue as he entered his house. Okay, let's get you home, so your dad doesn't try to have me sent into a black hole. Naruto said to Kim with a nervous smile as he drove off. Kim nervously smiled at this. Dang it, Dad. She thought, finding it embarrassing that her dad would make that threat to her crush. The next day. Naruto was at school and saw Kim and Ron talking next to his locker. Naruto noticed that Ron had his hair back to normal and was happily smiling while talking to Kim. Well, you look happy that your hair is normal again. Naruto said to Ron as he opened his locker. It's not his hair he's happy about. Kim said with a chuckle as she shook her head at Ron's excitement. I asked Tara out, and she said yes dude. Ron said with a smile at Naruto. Naruto smiled back at Ron at this. Glad you finally got a clue, buddy, he said. Ron rolled his eyes at this. Oh, like you're one to talk? He said. Huh? Naruto asked with a confused look. Before Ron could talk, he noticed Kim, who was behind Naruto glaring at him with fire in her eyes. And nothing. Ron said with a nervous chuckle as he decided to keep his mouth shut for once. Yeah, Ron's just talking nonsense again. Kim said with a smile at Naruto. Rufus poked his head out of Ron's pocket and shook his head, showing he agreed with Ron and Kim. Suddenly Kim's communicator went off. What's the sitch, Wade? Kim asked, glad for the interpretation. We've got a request for help from Miss Conan again. This time in the mountains of Kyoto, Japan. Wade said. Please tell me it's not another tailed beast temple. Kim said with a frown at the memory of what happened with Shikaku's temple. Sorry, Kim. But it looks like it is, and it looks like Draken is trying to find the temple. Wade said as he showed an image of Draken and his men in the mountains of Kyoto. Which tailed beast is it? Naruto asked curiously. According to Miss Conan, it's the five-tailed horse Kokuo. Wade said as he made an image appear of what looked like a cave, sketching of a creature on 4 legs and 5 tails. That's a horse. It looks like it's part dolphin. Look at its head. Ron said with a raised eyebrow. Ha. Oh, that's the best. I gotta remember that. Son Goku laughed as he clapped his hands and hooted as he laughed. Set up a ride after school, Wade. We've got a tailed beast to keep safe from Draken. Kim said. Wade nodded before he hung up. Wonder how Draken got information on the tailed beasts. Naruto said with a frown as he, Kim, and Ron went to class. We can ask after we catch him. Kim said with a determined look. Am I missing something? Naruto asked Ron as he gestured to Kim. Ron smiled at this. Kim likes horses, so I guess she doesn't like that Draken is looking to use one for evil, he said as they entered their classroom. Naruto chuckled at this, finding this cute that Kim had a favorite animal. Kurama scoffed at this as he sat in Naruto's mindscape. I'm better than that steam-spouting pacifist. He yelled. Kokuo is a pacifist? Naruto asked curiously as Kurama didn't talk a lot about the other tailed beasts. Yeah, she was always trying to play peacekeeper and find peaceful ways to end fights among us tailed beasts. Kurama said with a scoff. So you had your own Kim among you, huh? Naruto asked with a smile. Kurama's eyebrow twitched at this comment before he realized something. Oh if Kokuo and that redhead meet. I'll never have fun again. He yelled. Well, Kim does need a boost. Naruto thought with a smile as he looked at Kim, remembering how she said she felt not as good as him, Ron, and Rufus since they got tailed beast abilities, and she didn't. Gah! Kurama yelled, not at all happy with that idea. Later that day in the mountains of Kyoto, Naruto, Kim, and Ron sat in a helicopter while it flew them to a mountain range. I'm still not a fan of this AI pilot stuff, Wade. Ron said as the helicopter landed. Hey, even Kim will run out of favors eventually. Wade said from Kim's communicator. Have you ever considered getting funding for the site? Naruto asked as they all got out of the helicopter. Never really thought of doing that. Kim said with a shrug as they looked around at the mountains. Any ideas where this temple could be? Ron asked. Well, Kurama said that Kokuo used steam in its attacks. Maybe that's a hint. Naruto suggested. Wade, can you do a scan for any natural hot springs in the area? Kim asked Wade. Wade typed at his computer and soon pulled up a map. Kyoto has a lot of natural hot springs, but there's a really big one in a deep cavern down below you guys. Wade said. If it's a big one, we'll need to be careful. Naruto said as they all looked over the edge of a cliff, where they saw steam coming out of it. Yeah, one wrong step, and we will be boiled alive. Kim said agreeing with Naruto. Yep, so I'll stay here and keep watch. Ron said with a nervous chuckle. Yeah, nah, scary. Rufus said, poking his head out of Ron's pocket. Gah. I'm inside a coward. Son Goku yelled in rage. Ron Draken is here looking to get his hands on a tailed beast. It's all hands on deck for this one. Kim said with a determined look. So, any ideas on how to get down? Ron asked as he looked over the edge. Kim took off her backpack and pulled out some ropes and harnesses. We use these, and if we fall. Rufus, I'm counting on you to catch us. She said. Rufus nodded and created a small hand made of sand which gave Kim a thumbs up. Good idea, Kim. Naruto said with a smile as he took a HRNSS from Kim. Minutes later. Naruto, Kim and Ron lowered themselves down into the cavern, which was filled with thick steam. Gah, it's hotter than Diablo sauce in here. Ron yelled as he wiped his face. Sweating is good for you, Ron. Now help keep an eye out for this temple. Kim said as she took out some high-tech binoculars so she could survey the area and see through the steam. Naruto sweated as he also used his own binoculars to survey the area. Yeah, this is definitely where her temple is. She loves hot springs. Kurama mused as he could feel the heat of the steam from Naruto's mindscape. Kim soon spotted a temple sitting down in the middle of the boiling water below. Got it. She said. Any sign of Draken? Naruto asked as he looked down where Kim was looking. No, but I have a visual of Shago and Draken's men. Why would Shago wait outside? If I was her, I would want the power before Draken. Ron said. Son Goku had a flat look at this. You say that, but you refuse to work with me? He asked. Oh, go eat a banana. Ron thought with a frown as he was getting sick of Son Goku's mouthing off. We can ask when we get down there. Are you ready, Rufus? Kim asked as she put away her binoculars. Yup. Rufus said before he made a burst of sand, which grabbed the three teens and started to carry them down to the temple. Rufus dropped them behind a wall of the temple. So, what's the plan? Ron whispered as they watched Shago talk to the other henchmen. One of us sneaks in and stops Draken while the others distract Shago. Kim said. Okay, Kim. You go ahead and stop Draken. Me, Ron, and Rufus can handle this. Naruto said with a nod at Kim. Meanwhile, Shago's ears twitched slightly, and she looked at the wall the three teens were hiding behind and smiled since she could see the heat signatures of Naruto, Kim and Ron. It's about time you got here, Kimmy. I've got a score to settle with your fox friend. She said as her henchmen readied themselves. Naruto jumped out from behind the wall to confront Shago and glared at her. Two things, who told you about Kurama, and what makes you think you can take me on? He asked as he channeled some of Kurama's cloak. Shago grinned as a blue cloak of energy engulfed her body, and her eyes slit like a cat. Let's just say you're not the only one with a tailed beast anymore. She said as she took a battle stance as blue fire ignited in her hands before she charged at Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened before he dogged Shago's attacks. Oh, SHT. It looks like Matatabi found a host. Kurama said with a growl as he recognized the flames Shago was now using to attack Naruto. Great, just what I need. A cat girl after me. Naruto thought as he clashed with Shago before jumping back. Isn't that what most teenage boys your age dream of? Kurama asked with a snicker. Not helping. Naruto thought to the tailed beast as he barely dodged Shago's attacks. Not so confident, now that I can keep up, huh? Shago said with a smirk as she continued to attack Naruto. Kim watched this and glared at Shago, clearly not happy that Shago now had a tailed beast. Kim, get moving. Naruto yelled at her as he attacked Shago with his own aura claws, clashing with her in a stalemate. Yeah, we got his back. Ron yelled to Kim while Rufus was chasing Shago's henchman with what looked like a sand monster. Kim nodded before she ran into the temple. She soon came up to a massive door where she spotted Draken trying to push it open. Okay, Draken. Step away from the door. Kim yelled. Draken turned to look at Kim and glared at her. Kim possible. Of course, you show up to stop me from obtaining the power to beat you and take over the world. He said. Trust me, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Kim said with a glare at Draken. Suddenly a bunch of steam flew around them as a ghostly image of a giant man in what looked like armor. He was also wearing what looked like a red straw hat and a white cloth over his face so only his eyes could be seen. This a new minion of yours, Draken? Kim asked with a raised eyebrow. Of course not. Who are you? State your business with me. Draken yelled at the man. The man looked at Draken and then Kim with calculating eyes. I am called Han, and you're not worthy, he said as he pointed at Draken. What? Draken yelled in surprise. You are too weak. Just a taste of the five tails power will kill you, now leave. Han said with a glare at Draken. What makes you think I'm weak? Draken yelled in a rage. You're a loudmouth who has to have minions do your work for you. Han said simply. Kim laughed at this. He's got you there, Draken. She said. Draken growled at this. I will not be denied the power to dash. Han then glared at Draken, and the steam around him made the image of a demon that roared at him, making the temple shake. Draken was sent flying, slammed into a wall, and slid down to the ground passed out. Wow, that's impressive. Kim said to Han before he turned to look at Kim, which caused her to take a battle stance. You have a fighter spirit. But you're also willing to talk things out first. Han said with a calculating look. Are you a mind reader? Kim asked with a raised eyebrow. Han chuckled at this. No, I'm just good at reading people after so long. But getting back to the matter at hand, you're more than worthy, and I feel you will get along well with Kokuo. Han said with a nod as he disappeared. Kim's eyes widened at this. A ghost is praising me? That's a first. She said. Suddenly the doors opened, showing on the other side there was a massive statue of Kokuo with her five tails behind her. On the forehead of the statue was a glowing white gem, which soon fired a beam of light at Kim, engulfing her. Kim's mindscape. Kim was floating in a white void that seemed to be endless. So you're the one Han found worthy? A voice said behind Kim, getting her attention. When she turned around, she saw a giant five-tailed horse with 4 horns on its head. I'm gonna assume you're Kokuo? Kim asked with wide eyes at how big she was. Indeed, and you're Kim, possible teen hero and cheerleader. Kokuo said with a slight smile. Okay, I'm gonna guess you're the mind reader. Kim said with a smile of her own. It's more that we share the same mind, so it's hard to hide things from me. Kokuo said with a chuckle. So I'm like Naruto, Ron, and Rufus now? Kim asked as she looked at her hands. Indeed, and I feel Kurama's host is having trouble with Matatabi's host. Kokuo said with a frown as she didn't like when her siblings fought. Then we should help him. Kim said with a determined look. Kokuo nodded at this. Very well. She said as a white aura engulfed her and Kim. With Naruto. Naruto and Shago clashed again into a stalemate as Shago tried to attack with her fire cloak claws while Naruto defended with his own cloak claws. Heh, you may have 7 tails more than me. But I have more experience. Shago said with a smirk as she pushed Naruto back. Naruto scowled at this as he tried to keep Shago back, but her flame aura was slowly burning him. Suddenly a blur made of steam shot at Shago and kicked her in the side, sending Shago flying away from Naruto and slamming into a wall, making cracks on it. Shago quickly recovered, and got back on her feet, and looked at what struck her. She saw Kim with her fist out and covered in a white aura as she glared at Shago. Wow! Naruto thought, seeing Kim like this. Alright, KP. Ron cheered, holding his fists up in excitement. One of us. One of us. Rufus yelled happily as he stood on a mountain of sand which had all of Shago's henchmen buried in it. DMN it, Draken. You had to let Princess beat you to the tailed beast. Shago said as she glared at Kim. I'm not that used to this yet, so let's see if my kicks are improved just like my punches. Kim said before she charged at Shago and jumped at her, and spun in the air before kicking at Shago. If you think you can beat ... Shago was yelling before Kim's kick connected with her and sent her flying, and slammed into the mountain wall clear across the lake of boiling water. Naruto whistled at this, impressed with Kim. Nice kick, he said as he walked over to Kim. Kim sighed in exhaustion as her aura faded. Well, Kokuo is a horse, she said with a chuckle. Alright. Now we're all tailed beast heroes. Ron yelled with a smile. Not exactly Mr. Monkey Phobia, Naruto said with a quirked eyebrow. I'm getting there, Ron said with a pout as he crossed his arms. Okay, let's get out of here. I have sweated enough today between all the steam and Shago now being the Two Tails host, Naruto said with a sigh. Kim nodded at this before she looked at Rufus. You up to give us a lift? She asked the naked mole rat with a smile. Aha! Going up. Rufus smiled before he made sand to give them a lift. Unknown to them, a drone was watching them before it flew off. Under some gravel nearby, Shago groaned as she forced herself free from under some rocks right before her aura faded since she was exhausted. You have a lot to learn, kitten, a female voice said from inside her mindscape. Don't call me that, Shago yelled with a scowl at the tailed beast's nickname for her. Matatabi chuckled at this as she kinda liked this fiery attitude of her new host. Hidden location. Inside a hidden location, 12 figures in robes were watching some footage of Naruto fighting. Shago Rufus fighting Shago's henchmen and Kim kicking Shago. It would seem the tailed beasts are getting good hosts so far, one of the figures said. Indeed though, the host of the Four Tails cowardice is starting to get annoying, another figure said. What's the plan, Pain? Conan asked a figure who was sitting in a seat in the back of the room. The figure looked up to show he had purple eyes that looked like ripples. Uzumaki residence. It was a normal day at the Uzumaki home where Naruto was in his room getting ready for mini-golf with Kim and Ron. Okay brat, you're in trouble, Kushina bellowed from downstairs. Dad did it, Naruto yelled in a panicked reflex. Hey! Don't pass the buck to me, Minato yelled upstairs. Well, what exactly is it that I did? Naruto said as he came downstairs and spotted Kim and Ron in the living room with Kushina and Minato. Kim told us that she's joined your little club of tailed beast hosts, Kushina said with a twitching eyebrow. Hey, she did it, not me, Naruto said. That's not the point, you know we are supposed to be updated on this, son, Minato said with a frown. Yeah, now we have 4 of the tailed beasts accounted for, Kushina said as she looked at Kim, Ron, Rufus and then Naruto. Actually one of our regular bad guys has won, Ron said with a nervous chuckle as he remembered that Shago had Matatabi. Say what? Kushina yelled in a rage. Thanks Ron, Naruto said with a groan as he pinched his nose. Which one did you and this villain get? Minato asked Kim curiously. I got Kokuo the 5 tails and Shago got the 2 tails, Kim said, deciding it was best to tell them since they knew about this stuff like Naruto. Well, that's just perfect, Kushina said with a Hey, just be glad she didn't get the 8 tails, Naruto said. Anyone is a better host for that guy than that rapping freak from millennia ago. Kurama roared out in a rage. They had rapping back then? Naruto asked with a bewildered tone. Well, it was more haikus, but same difference. The point is the last host for that bull idiot was so annoying I almost ripped my own ears off. Kurama bellowed out. Anyways, another reason I came over was that apparently a king is asking for protection for his son, Kim said, deciding to get to the point. What country? Naruto asked curiously. Small European nation of Rodigan, Kim said as the 3 teens all got ready to leave. Looks like we're postponing mini-golf, Ron said with a sigh as they left. Sounds like a win to me, Naruto muttered. You're just not a fan cause you can't ever get the ball in, Kushina said with a teasing smirk. Neither could you, Ms. Club Breaker, Naruto said as he left. I got your club breaker right here. Kushina said with a growl as she approached Naruto. Run away. Rufus yelled. Smartest one on the team, Ron said as he nodded and ran out of the house. Right behind you, buddy. Naruto yelled after Ron as he followed him. Kim sighed at this. My team, everybody, she said as she also followed them. Ah, teenagers, Minato said with a chuckle at his son and his friends. Later in Rodigan. Naruto, Kim and Ron got out of a limousine after it parked in front of a old castle. Alright, where's the rich brat we have to guard? Naruto asked as he rubbed his hands. Naruto, you don't know if the prince is a brat, Kim said as she shook her head in disapproval. Oh please, $20 says he's a brat, Naruto said as he took out a bill from his wallet. Really? Kim asked with a flat look on her face at her friend's immaturity. Ah, so you're the commoners my father called for, a teen boy in a blue suit said as he came out to greet them. That's us, Prince, Ron said, either a friendly smile. Prince Wallace III, the teen said with a snobby tone. Naruto's eyebrow twitched at this as he already felt a headache coming. I say kill him and blame whoever is after him, Kurama said with a snicker from Naruto's mindscape. My father will be out soon to greet you now. If you excuse me, I am going to ride my go-kart, Wally said as he walked past them. Go-karts. Cool. Ron said with a smile as he walked after Wally. Oh, would you like to come? Wally asked with a raised eyebrow. Sure. I'm all about go-karts. Ron said with a grin as he followed Wally. Naruto watched this and chuckled at the fact that Ron could make friends with almost anyone. A man with a mustache, that connected to his sideburns, wearing royal clothes, walked out to them. Ah, Kim possible I presume? The man asked. Hello, Your Majesty. Kim said. King Wallace II at your service, the man said with a smile. So what's this you wanting us to protect your kid from? Naruto asked. There has been a prophecy speaking of my lineage ending with my son Prince Wally III. Prophecy, ha. Naruto said before seeing their faces. Oh, you're serious, he said. What's this prophecy, Your Highness? Kim asked as she rolled her eyes, and Naruto. Awaiting the light from a full harvest moon, Rodan's foe will soon face his doom. In the shadow of the palace we will not be deterred. The monarchy ends with Wallace III, King Wallace said. Rodan, as in Rodan Industries? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Kim's eyes widened at this. I'll call Wade and have him do a search on that, she said as she took out her communicator. And who are you, my dear boy? King Wallace asked Naruto curiously. Naruto Uzumaki, Kim's partner. Naruto said with a smile as he slightly bowed. Sems from what he saw the king was a good person. King Wallace's eyes widened at this. Uzumaki, you say? Like the royal family of Japan? He asked curiously. Royal family? Kim asked curiously with a raised eyebrow as she looked away from her communicator since Wade was doing a search. Naruto groaned at this as he slapped his forehead. Was hoping to avoid that getting out, he said. Why yes, the Uzumaki family was known for many generations as one of history's greatest warriors of the martial arts, especially the queens, King Wallace said with a smile. Queens? Kim asked curiously with a raised eyebrow. Yes, throughout history the royal Uzumaki males were known for having dash, King Wallace was saying before Naruto ran to him. Yeah. Hey, do you think my mom is such a battle axe? All Uzumaki women were like that, Naruto said with a nervous laugh before he pulled the king aside. Look, I don't need that getting around, okay, so please don't tell anyone, Naruto whispered to the king. Of course, plus your family hasn't done that in years and would need the backing of a nation to reactivate those rights, the king whispered back before nodding in understanding. Before Kim could say something, everyone jumped, hearing an explosion as they ran to the back of the palace, seeing a burnt Ron holding the steering wheel of a go-kart. What happened to you? Naruto asked Ron, who coughed a puff of smoke. I went to replace the steering wheel and a laser shot out of the sky, blowing it up. Ron said. A satellite weapon, Kim said. Naruto noticed that Ron was wearing the charred remains of a jumpsuit with a crown on it. I'm gonna assume they thought you were Wally because of you wearing his go-kart uniform, he said with a frown. Why am I not burned? Ron asked curiously as he looked at his arms and body. Volcanic powers, you moron. Ron's eyes widened in realization before he nodded. Oh thanks, he thought in appreciation. Sun's eyes widened sly at this before he scoffed and nodded. Guess having a four-tailed magma shooting ape came in handy this time. Kim muttered. This is precisely why I am sending him to America with you all, because there I know he can be safer than here. King Wallace said. Kim nodded at this, but until we find the culprits, who's he gonna stay with? Not it. Ron yelled out quickly. I am sure the Uzumaki family would be willing to help, King Wallace said with a smile at Naruto. Naruto groaned slightly at this. Your Majesty, maybe we should find a different dash. Oh come on Naruto, I'm sure your mom would be a good guard, Kim said with a smile. Have you met my mom? He has a better shot with the knights, Naruto said with a shudder as he gave the prince 3 minutes with his mom before she snapped. Kim pouted at this as she looked at Naruto. Oh come on, that's not fair. Naruto yelled as he winced at the puppy dog pout Kim was using. Please? Kim asked with a pout as her lip quivered. Ga the long please, fine. Geez, those things should come with warning labels. Naruto yelled out in frustration. Kim smiled at her victory over Naruto. I want lessons, Kukuo said with a smirk at her host, easily convincing her brother's host. Wait, if he's staying with us, doesn't that mean he'll have to go to our school? Ron asked. It just gets better and better, Naruto groaned out as Kim and Ron left the castle to go get Wally. The next morning, Naruto was sleeping in his room having a good dream about a giant bowl of ramen. The F did you say, you brat? Kushina screamed out before a crash was heard. F. Naruto groaned as he woke up and started to walk downstairs to save Wally from his mom. I just asked for a nice foot rub, Wally said with a shrug at his seat in the dining table across from the kitchen. I ain't touching your freaking feet, brat. I ain't a servant, Kushina bellowed from the stove. Ah yes, you're from that royal family father mentioned, Wally said with a nod as he remembered lessons about some other royal families. That's right, we weren't all stuck up little SHT stains. Kushina said with a prideful tone. If you're royalty, why are you wearing an apron that says, screw the chef, doesn't that hurt, Wally asked. Of course you wouldn't get screw royal brat, Kushina said as she rubbed her head in frustration. Everything okay in here? Naruto asked as he came into the dining room/kitchen with his backpack. Just peachy, my fellow prince, Wally said with a nod as he ate some of what Kushina made. He asked me to rub his feet, Kushina said with a heated glare at Wally. And you're not digging a grave in the backyard yet? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. No. I'm gonna have him dig it himself if he keeps it up, Kushina said with a manic grin at the prince as he finished his breakfast. Okay your majesty, let's get to school early so I can show you around the school, Naruto said as he quickly pulled Wally to his feet as his mom was obviously about to go hardcore crazy on the prince. Ah, capital idea, Wally said as he followed Naruto out of the kitchen. Yeah, you better run, Kushina growled as she chopped some meat on the counter making BLD go flying. Hey honey, what's for? Oh geez, you already killed the prince. Minato asked, seeing the BLD on his wife's apron. Kushina snorted at this, finding this funny, which to Minato made him more worried. With Naruto. Naruto was driving his car to school with Wally in the passenger seat. So this school is where commoner teens go to school? Wally asked curiously. Yes, also if you don't want to be shoved in a locker or worse, I wouldn't call anyone that, Naruto said with a slight scowl. Why? Wally asked with a confused look and tone of voice. Well, as a prince you don't want anyone to hate your country because you insulted everyone, right? Naruto asked, hoping to play on his pride for his home. Wally paused at this before he nodded. Very good point, I suppose I shouldn't insult anyone, he said as he saw Naruto's point. Also, we're having a school election this week, so try not to draw too much attention to yourself please, Naruto said. They let a student run the school. Fascinating, Wally said with a curious look on his face. Naruto groaned at this. Not exactly, it's just that Kim is running and I don't want anything to ruin her chances, he said as he started to pull into the parking lot on front of the school. Ah yes, Miss Possible, tell me, is she the first of your hard dash? Wally was saying before he was cut off. Stop! Naruto yelled as he slammed on the brakes, making the car stop violently in the school parking lot. I say, dear fellow, what's the prob dash? Wally was saying before Naruto grabbed him by the front of his shirt. Look, you little SHT, I don't want that getting around, so I'm gonna be clear with you. If you so much as hint at that with anyone in this school or in this town, I will do something not nice. Naruto said with a heated glare that made his eyes glow orange as he screamed the last part. Wally paled at this and started to shiver a little. Very well, I swear on the royal family I won't say anything about that while I'm here, he stuttered out. Naruto let go of Wally's shirt and his eyes stopped glowing. Good, now let me show you around, he said with a smile as he and Wally got out of his car. Meanwhile, in Naruto's mindscape, Kurama watched this with wide eyes before he started to laugh. Oh man, that was great. I'm so proud. Kurama said as he laughed, finding this hilarious as Naruto had never done anything like this before. Later that day at school. Naruto groaned as he sat down at his table in the cafeteria with his bagged lunch. Bad day babysitting the prince? Ron asked curiously as he sat down next to him. What do you think, Nacho Brain? Naruto asked with a slight glare. I think it just got worse. Ron said, pointing at the popular table where Wally was sitting. Oh, for F's sake, Naruto said as he groaned and slapped his forehead. Things going that bad with keeping him safe? Kim asked as she sat down with them. Let's see, I had to save him from my mom, tell him to not run for school president, and that's just this morning, Naruto listed off with an annoyed look. Did you tell him he couldn't help Brick with his campaign? Kim asked, pointing at the table. Naruto turned around to see Wally giving out flyers for Brick's campaign for class president. Oh man, he has a prince in his corner, this ain't gonna be easy, KP, Ron said. Well, technically I have one in my corner, right? Kim asked Naruto with a teasing smile. If you knew what it means to be my people's version of a prince, you wouldn't want me in your corner, Naruto said with a groan. Not unless she's in a SLV bikini, ha. Kurama said before he started cackling madly. What's that got to do with anything? Ron asked curiously. Nothing, just drop it, Ron, Naruto said as he shook his head. I'm sure we can find a way to beat Brick, Kim said as she didn't think it was necessary to use Naruto's prince status as a weapon. Well, I have to do something if Wally can use his money to back Brick up, Naruto said. Hey, what's up with Bonnie? She ain't sitting with Brick, Ron asked, seeing that Bonnie wasn't with Brick. Brick apparently got jealous of the looks she gave me and dumped her, Naruto said. I dumped him, Naruto also here, Kim, Bonnie said as she walked over and handed Kim a bag. What's this? Kim asked, opening the bag which had buttons in it saying Vote KP and Rockwaller. Say hello to your new running mate, Bonnie said with a smirk. You're backing her up? Ron said, surprised. It's her ex, Ron, what do you expect? Naruto said as even he knew that during a breakup emotions ran high. You're helping because Naruto's in my corner, aren't you? Kim asked flatly. Bonnie nodded at this as she sat down. That and I would rather you win over him, she said with a glare at Brick. Well, at least you're honest, Naruto said with a chuckle as Bonnie helping Kim was progress in his mind. Kim's communicator went off at this, which she took out and answered. What's the sitch, Wade? She asked. I have a update on this prophecy that says Wally will fall, Wade said. Kim nodded as she got up to leave. Need our help? Naruto asked curiously. No, you stay here with Ron and Bonnie, and help plan my campaign, Kim said with a slight glare at Bonnie. You got it, me and Bon here will make sure you win, Naruto said as he gave Kim a thumbs up. Kim smiled at this as she left the cafeteria. You tell him you're into him yet? Wade asked with a smile. Wade, don't make me show you my new kicking technique, Kim said with a smile that was anything but sweet. And noted, Wade said as he had done some scans of Kim since she got Kokuo and saw her kicking strength was off the charts. Anyway, you have information for me? Kim asked. Oh yeah, I did a scan of one of the Rodigan royal family's old paintings and I think there is more of the prophecy hidden in there, Wade said as he made an image of an old painting appear on the screen. Have it sent to my dad's lab, he has equipment that's perfect for seeing if there is more with hunting the painting, Kim said. Gotcha. Kimmy Bear. No more chatting with my mom, and call me that again and I will hunt you down. Kim said. Heh, sorry, Wade said with a nervous laugh. Oh, before you go, can you do a favor? Sure, I have free time. What you need, Kim? I need you to look into the history of the Uzumaki family, Kim said as she looked back at the cafeteria and watched Naruto talk to Ron and Bonnie. Naruto's family? What's going on? Wade asked curiously. There's something he's hiding and I want to know, Kim said with a frown. This the prince thing? Wade asked as he had been updated on this thanks to him reading through some basic information on Naruto when they met. No, I think it has something to do with it though, Kim said as she really didn't care about the whole prince thing. Looking, oh wow, Wade said as his eyes widened in surprise as he looked at his screen. What? Kim asked, getting worried. Kim, all the males of that family in the old days had Wade said as he hesitated. Wade, just say it, Kim said, getting worried. The princes/kings of the family had harems, Wade said with a slight blush at this. Kim's eyes widened at this before she subconsciously channeled some of Kokuo's power and crushed her communicator. She then heard beeping coming from her locker, which she grabbed and ripped the door off to show her computer screen and Wade. What? She bellowed with glowing eyes. The Uzumaki family gave up those rights years ago and haven't done that for at least 100 years, Wade said nervously, hoping this info would calm her down. Kim's eyes stopped glowing at this. Oh, thank you God, she said with a sigh of relief. Anyway, Kim, I have a ride ready for you after school so you can go to your dad's lab and check out the painting, Wade said, sounding relieved that Kim wasn't mad anymore. Thanks, Wade. Also, I need a new dash, Kim was saying before she was cut off. The ride will have a new communicator, Wade said with a sigh as she shook his head. Later after school with Naruto. Look at that royal pain, he's actually making Brick seem good, Naruto said as Ron and Bonnie left the school and spotted Wally helping Brick campaign to other students. Yeah, it sucks. Ron said with a sigh. Can't believe I'm going to say this, but do you have anything we can use against him? Naruto asked Bonnie. Bonnie blinked at this before she smirked. Oh, you want to play dirty, huh? She asked. It's either that or let Brick win, plus this is politics, Naruto said with a chuckle. Guys, I don't think KP wouldn't want to play dirty to Dash, Ron was saying before he was cut off. Ron, go eat some bueno nacho on me, Bonnie said as she handed Ron a $20 bill. Score. Ron yelled as he took the money and ran over to Wally. Come on, your highness, I have food to show you, he yelled as he dragged Wally off. Cheese. Rufus cheered as Ron ran. Alright, my mischievous bonbon, time to play dirty, Naruto said with a mischievous smirk as he hadn't pulled a prank in a while. Bonnie smirked back at Naruto. What if I told you Brick had a collection of stuffed animals that he was desperate to keep hidden? She asked. Naruto paused at this and smiled at Bonnie. Okay, that is evil, I'm impressed, he said to her. Bonnie chuckled at this as she and Naruto walked to his car. Oh, and he spends more time on his hair than even me. I watched him comb, blow dry and spray his hair for 3 hours before he got ready for school and is terrified of clowns, she listed off. Hold on, write this stuff down, Naruto said as he took out his phone to make a note. So you heading home or you gonna try and drag Wally home? Bonnie asked as she knew he was staying with Naruto. Nah, he can walk home, after he's done with Ron, Naruto said flatly. Alright then, Bonnie said with a nod as Naruto got into his car. Say, do you have a ride to get home? Naruto asked her curiously. Actually, I was going to walk. Why? Bonnie asked as she hoped he was gonna ask what she hoped he would. Well, maybe I could drop you off as thanks for the blackmail material, Naruto said with a smile. I'd like that, Bonnie said with a genuine smile. You should smile more, Naruto said with his own smile as Bonnie got into the passenger seat. Let's go Whiskers, Bonnie said with a grin. Naruto chuckled at this before he started the car and backed the car up before he drove off. Soon they arrived at her house and he parked in front of the house to let Bonnie out. Thanks for the ride Naruto, Bonnie said as she got out of the car. No problem, I always have time to give my friends a ride home, Naruto said as he waved his hand dismissively with a smile at his friend. So are we friends now? Bonnie asked with a raised eyebrow. Naruto nodded at this. Yeah, you may have made a bad first impression but I know you're actually trying now, so yeah, we are friends, he said as he was glad Bonnie was actually trying to be a better person. Bonnie smiled at this before she saw a red convertible drive into her driveway. Oh no, she groaned as she saw who was in the car. What? Naruto asked as he looked at the car and spotted 2 older girls getting out of the red convertible. One had neck-length brown hair while the other had light blonde hair that was also neck-length. My sisters Connie and Lonnie, Bonnie said with a scowl as she gestured to the brown-haired one and blonde respectively as they approached. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this as he looked at the 2 older girls. Bonnie never mentioned any sisters before. I wonder why, he thought as he got out of his car to greet them. Connie looked at Naruto then Bonnie and raised an eyebrow. Who is this Bonnie? Not a boyfriend I hope, she said with a smirk. Yeah, there's no way this stud is with you, Connie said with her own smirk at Bonnie who frowned at this. Naruto's eyes widened at this as he listened to this. Wow, they are worse than Bonnie when we met, he thought as. Kurama scoffed at this. I usually don't give a SHT but I can already tell these 2 are way worse than your friend on a bad day, he said with a roll of his eyes. Naruto mentally nodded at this before he looked at the sisters deciding to be nice since they were Bonnie's family. Hey, I'm Naruto, he said with a fake smile. I'm surprised you're friends with Bonnie, she usually doesn't have guests visit let alone drop her off, Lonnie said. Yeah, weren't you walking here since that quarterback dumped you? Connie asked with smirk at Bonnie who scowled but said nothing. That's Bonnie for you, Connie got all the brains, I got all the looks, and Bonnie got the rest. Lonnie said with a laugh. Naruto scowled at this as he saw Bonnie was clearly upset and that this obviously happened a lot with her sisters. You have something to say, cutie? Lonnie asked Naruto with a smile, obviously not seeing that Naruto was mad. Naruto growled a little at this. Before he decided to say what he thought, yeah, I do this the whole time. I thought Bonnie was AB to everyone when we met. But now I see why. She's not doing it out of spite or hate, she does it because every day of her life she's had to deal with having you 2 miserable CNTs for sisters picking on her every day of her life. It must make you both feel so high and mighty, making yourself seem better than everyone else, breaking down your sister's confidence, making her feel like she is lower than you. But let me tell you something, Bonnie is twice the woman either of you 2 could ever be, and that's because she's trying to do better and fix her mistakes and be an actual person, not some arrogant trust fund valley girl, he said with a firm tone as he glared at the 2 sisters. Bonnie's eyes widened in shock at this along with her sisters who were shocked at Naruto's rant. Bonnie, I got to go, but if you ever need a person to talk to instead of the B duo let me know, Naruto said with a kind smile at Bonnie before he glared again at the 2 sisters before he got into his car and took off. That loser thinks he can talk to us like that, Connie said with an angry look. Just ignore him sis, he's just another loser like Bonnie, Lonnie said with a glare as her and Connie went inside the house. Bonnie said nothing at this as she watched Naruto leave with a hot blush on her face before she smiled as she was gonna remember this forever. Later that night, Naruto was in the living room watching TV when Kim came into the house. Would it kill you to pick up your communicator? Kim asked with an annoyed tone. Well, hello to you too, Naruto said with a chuckle. Where were you? I've been calling for hours. Kim asked, hoping nothing happened with Bonnie. Took Bonnie home, cussed out her sisters, showered then ate. Naruto said simply as he turned off the TV. You took her home? Kim asked. She needed a ride. What's wrong with that? Naruto asked. Nothing, but she has sisters. Kim asked curiously as she had heard that Bonnie had siblings but had never seen them. Ooh yeah, real pieces of work. Hey, do you think if she had brothers they'd be Donnie or Johnny? Naruto said with a chuckle. Wait, never mind, have you seen the news, or you would have if you picked up the dang thing. Ron is at the mini golf course, Kim said. Yeah, and? Naruto asked, not seeing the problem. He's with Wally alone and the prophecy said he will be in the shadow of a castle when he's attacked, Kim said with a firm tone, hoping Naruto would get what she's saying. Naruto thought above this and he soon realized what Kim was saying. Oh yeah, after talking with Bonnie I forgot all about that, he said with a sheepish chuckle at the fact that he forgot the mini golf course had a castle. Well, come on, if that prophecy is right, that's where those knights are gonna attack, Kim said as her and Naruto headed out the front door. With Ron. Ron was at the third hole of the mini golf course with Wally. Welcome to hole 3, the king's castle. Ron said with a smile as him and Wally got ready to set up their ball. A bit impressive, not like mine but still nice, Wally said with an amused smile. Suddenly the castle exploded, making the two teens fall to the ground. Prince Wally 3, we have come for you, a voice said as two men in suits of armor came out of the smoke. Oh. Forgot about them, Ron muttered. Ah, the Knights of Rodigan. Wally screamed in a panic. The two knights pulled out a medieval mace and a sword which glowed with energy. Protect me. Wally said to Ron hiding behind him. What's gonna protect me? Ron yelled in a panic as the knight with a mace approached. When he swung down his mace it was blocked by a burst of sand courtesy of Rufus. What? The kite yelled as the sand sent him and his fellow knight flying. Thanks for the save, buddy. Ron said with a smile at his pocket where Rufus poked his head out. Rufus smiled but then gasped as he went back into the pocket as the knights came back using jet boots. Right, rich guys, Ron said flatly as he and Wally flinched ready for the strike. Before they could attack Ron and Wally, the two knights were struck in the side, sending them flying into a pyramid display nearby. Ron opened his eyes and looked and saw Naruto and Kim there with their chakra cloaks covering their bodies. Ugh, strange, the prophecy never talked about a glowing man and his maiden, the knight with a sword said as him and his fellow knight got back up and approached them ready to attack. Shut up with the medieval talk, Reggie, the other knight said. I'll take the guy with the mace, Naruto said as he cracked his neck. Works for me, Kim said as she did some light jumps to limber her legs up. Hold back a bit, even with armor your kick will probably kill him, Naruto said as he chuckled at Kim's eagerness to fight and try out Kokuo's power again. Don't worry, I know how to hold back, Kim said with a nod as she ran at the knight with a sword. I will not be defeated by some dash, the knight with a sword was saying before Kim kicked him in the face using jets of steam to give herself more power. The force of the kick sent him flying into a giant windmill. DMN, that girl has some legs, the other knight said before he blocked a slide from Naruto's claws. You should see her during cheerleading practice, Naruto said before he brought his fist up, sending the guy through a giant dinosaur. They got up groggy but shook it off as they readied their weapons. Hey guys, as a heads up, they got lots of tech like Iron Man. Ron yelled as he ran away with Rufus carrying Wally with a bunch of sand. Thanks, Kim said as she made more steam which started to cover the area and conceal her and Naruto from the two knights. What are you two? One of the knights yelled as him and the other knight tried to spot the two teens. Teens with attitude, Kim voice said from inside the steam. Might as well have said Power Rangers, Naruto's voice said flatly. I will not be mocked. The prophecy will come to pass, one of the knights yelled in frustration before he was struck in the leg by a tail of Naruto's cloak, making the knight fall to his knees. Whatever, Naruto said with a scowl as he hated when people talked about destiny. The other knight watched as the first got dragged into the steam before he began to fire wildly into it. Gah! Naruto said as one shot grazed his shoulder. Ha got you dash, the knight was saying before he was kicked hard in the side by Kim, sending him flying out of the steam and the steam itself to go flying and disperse, and he crashed into a big tree and slid down to the ground groaning. The knight looked and saw Kim walking towards him, steam coming off her. Kim saw the knight was bleeding from his mouth and sighed. I would stay down, this prophecy nonsense isn't worth your life, she said. The knight glared at Kim at this but soon sighed as he fell to the floor exhausted. Naruto nodded as he slammed the other knight onto the ground and held the knight down by his head. Has anyone told you have ramen breath, kid? The knight said before Naruto punched him in the face, knocking him out. Smart, but, Naruto said with a roll of his eyes. Well, he's knocked out and I think I cracked this one's skull, Kim said looking at her knight. Wade need a ambulance and some police escorts for these wannabe knights, Naruto said as he pulled out his phone. Wait, hold everything, Wally has something to say. Ron yelled as he ran over. I'm going to turn my country from a monarchy to a democracy. Wally said with a firm tone. Ha, what do you know, we did stop him. Kim's knight said before passing out. What caused this change? Naruto asked Wally curiously as he didn't see this coming. Well, seeing democracy in action with this school election has shown me that people should have a voice, Wally said with a sigh as he had to admit that while his father was a fair king he felt that it was time to move with the times. That and you don't want to be killed, Kim said with a flat tone at the prince. That too. Wally said with a nervous look at the knocked out knights. Well, anything you want to do while you're still a prince? Naruto asked curiously. I have something I will be doing, but for Bao I will take my leave, Wally said with a nod of respect at Naruto as he spotted his limousine approaching. Well, see ya, Naruto said as he held out his hand for Wally to shake. Wally shook his hand and smiled at him before he turned to Ron. We should try and get together soon, my friend, I quite enjoyed doing the hanging out with you, he said with a smile at Ron. Ron smiled back and gave him a thumbs up. Miss Possible, Wally said as he nodded at Kim in thanks. Kim nodded back with a smile as he and Wally shook hands. Mr. Uzumaki, I hope that someday you're actually proud of your royal heritage, and when the day comes I hope we can be allies, Wally said with a smile as he held out his hand to Naruto to shake again as a fellow royal. Naruto hesitated at this and sighed before he nodded and smiled as he shook Wally's hand. Count on it, he said. Wally nodded back and walked away to his limousine where his father was. Ron looked at Naruto with a raised eyebrow. Royal heritage? He asked curiously. Naruto groaned at this as Kim sighed, knowing that Ron was gonna ask about this until they told him. With Wally in the limousine. I heard what you said, son. I'm surprised you're giving up the crown, his father said with a smile at how his son has grown. Indeed, father, but don't worry, before I give up the throne I plan to do something to help my fellow prince with his love-life problems, Wally said as the limousine drove off. What do you mean, my son? The king asked curiously. Wally smiled a little at this. According to my friend Ron, my fellow prince has a talent for attracting women, so I have decided to help him by activating his royal status when I get home, he said. Unknown to him, his decision was gonna cause problems later for tithe young Uzumaki. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KFB Anime 87 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.